This three-part series is primarily about the 3 days of darkness and the Passover, but I know a lot of you are waiting on the Rh negative bloodline series. So I wanted to do a little update here first and let you know what's going on with that. So I just wanted to put a little update at the beginning of this video to let you know what's going on with that and what's been going on with this channel and this ministry and all of that type of thing. So unfortunately, it's going to be a few more days until I can get that Rh negative video completely edited and together. And if you don't want to hear this update or about anything else going on besides this 3 days of darkness and Passover video, I will put a time right up here in this right-hand corner as I get this intro edited to let you know where you can skip forward and skip past this update and jump right to part 1, 2, or 3 of this series. In fact, even if you have seen the full version, you might want to go and watch part 3 of this series again because there's new information that wasn't in the full version. When I went through and did the edit, I added quite a bit of stuff about the Lucifer infrared telescope on Mount Graham and what this actually is. Not what they're telling us this is right here, but what this actually is. So there is some more shocking information in this video, in this series, that wasn't included in the full version, original version. Before I upload this new series that I'm working on, the Rh negative series, I wanted to go ahead and break this last one down, this biggest secret, shocking, declassified CIA documents, the one that talked about the 3 days of darkness and Passover and the black sun and the holographic sky and the infrared. If you're not new to my channel, you know that that's usually how I do it, that I'll upload the entire full version, which is usually anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. And then I will go back and break it down in 30-minute episodes or 1-hour episodes so that it'll reach more people. And so it's easier and faster to download for people who want to download it. But as always, I beg you, please watch all 3 parts to this series because the way I work, I always work up to a crescendo. So usually part 3 is the best part. So if you give up after the sort of introduction, the first 30 minutes, and think that's all there is to this information, then you're really going to be missing out because the important stuff, the important documents, the evidence, the photographs, the Sechi images, all of that type of stuff will be later on in the video. Plus, the way I work is that I bring together puzzle pieces from all different perspectives. So I may be focusing on 2 or 3 perspectives of a subject in one certain segment. But then in the next episode, I may be talking about something that you would never even think was related to this subject, but bringing all those puzzle pieces together. And for those of you waiting on the new series, the Rh negative series that's coming out, and also the one that ties together the clouds and the moon and more information kind of on this subject, thank you for your patience. I hope to get those out like in the next 5 days. This time of year is brutal for me because I have all of the extra yard work on top of everything else I have to do and working 3 jobs and being a single mom. And I can't just not do it. There's no help. Without having a husband, I have to do the yard work. I have to pick up all of these branches, and this is my yard right here. So when I'm talking branches, I'm talking hours and hours and hours of tree limbs and burning and raking and burning just to get to the point where I can even mow. It's exhausting. I mean, I'm no spring chicken anymore at my age, and I'm a woman. I'm not as strong as a man. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Men and women are different. So this time of year, I'm just loaded down with work and I'm doing the best I can. So please bear with me. I can't quit my jobs. I have to provide for my son. And you guys know my main channel, YouTube, completely demonetized me months and months ago. I guess it was the end of 2018. So this that I do on YouTube, I do to get the truth out. I'm not doing it to make money. I know I've seen people like JonXarmy recently put up a video last week. Oh, people who get 20,000 views on every video, they're making 15 grand a month. It's this video right here that he just put up a week ago. Channels with over 100,000 subs make 15 grand a month. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against John. I love John. I absolutely love John. But when people say things like this, and in his defense, he was just trying to, people were getting on him about streaming on Patreon and these other platforms. And he's like, hey, the real money's at YouTube. Why would I even do these other platforms? You know? So he was trying to make a different point, and he has over 233,000 subscribers. And I clicked down, and most of his stuff's monetized. A lot of his stuff is, lucky guy. But my point is, I'm not coming down on John. It's just when people post things like this, people believe that because he says it's true. And so I want to show you it's absolutely not true. Not for me anyway, with 30 some thousand subscribers between the two. I've noticed since he posted this about a week ago, yeah, there are no donations. I had a week or two ago, I had a really big donation. I thank you so much. And of course, all the faithful family and friends of this ministry, you know, with their regular donations. So I'm not griping about that. I'm just saying that, but clearly, when people who have 250,000 subscribers like this say this, that we're all making $15,000 a month, it really, really cripples the effort. And I'll show you why. Here's my main channel, and you can see over 15 million views, almost 100,000 subscribers. All my videos get, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 views, some of them 500,000, close to 1,000,000 views. And my revenue says estimated 19 cents, but I won't make 19 cents. I make nothing. I don't know why they say that, why they put those pennies on there, but they've completely demonetized my channel. You can see right here, I have no copyright strikes. I have no community guidelines strikes. I've been on here for 11 years, but monetization, your channel was not approved for monetization. They just won't let me drink out of their water fountain. Account status, currently ineligible for monetization. And you can't say it's just about advertisers wanting to pull, because they didn't just stop letting advertisers put any advertisements on my page or any of my videos or anything like that. Because you know how everybody else gets to put their merch store and they get to have their t-shirts scrolling down below their videos and things like that. Like here's John's blackout t-shirts and some of his other designs. And here's what mine used to look like on my main channel it was all #Jesus. It was all about lifting up the name of Jesus. They even took that off of my channel. They will not allow the #Jesus t-shirts to be shown below any of my videos. They said that was part of the demonetization, that they don't let my merchandise, anything #Jesus be. So even I'm not allowed to advertise on my own channel. So they can't say it's the advertisers wanting to pull out. Clearly, I would want my #Jesus movement stuff on my own ministry channel. So it's not just about financially crippling me, but it's also about stopping the spreading of the gospel and stopping lifting up the name of Jesus Christ. So here's the t-shirt campaign. You can see right here, 000 profit. You can go down. These are all the different campaigns we have going: the storm, darkness to light, the regular, #Jesus, the revolution for Christ, the retro, all of it. And let me move this down so I can show you. Down here in the corner, you can see this is 4/16 of 2019, 11:30 in the morning. So this is right now, 0000. They've completely crippled the ministry. Nobody's participating anymore. I mean, largely because it's hidden, but also I don't know why. And hey, that's not to say that there isn't anybody, because I think there were 3 or 4 items sold in the last couple of weeks. So thank you to you people who are getting out there and getting the name of Jesus Christ out there. I really appreciate that. And God really appreciates that, because that's our job, is to lift up the name of Jesus Christ, and he'll draw all people to himself. And here's my backup channel, the Supernatural God Is Not Dead. They haven't completely demonetized this entire channel yet. But you can see my revenue for the entire month is 198 bucks. So that's a far cry from what John's saying, 15,000 a month. 198 bucks doesn't even pay my electric bill to keep this computer running. So as you can see here, this is the channel they haven't demonetized. So you can see real truthers No, they're not getting rich on YouTube. This is most of the videos that I've posted over the last 60 days, and every single one of them. And you can see confirmed by manual review. I've already appealed all of these, and they've come back and said, yeah, we had an actual person, not an algorithm, but an actual person look at your work. And no, you're completely demonetized on all these. So but I just wanted to show everybody this, that no, everybody's not getting rich on YouTube. We're doing this out of our heart, we are compelled to serve the Lord and to do this to get the truth out, not because we're getting rich or making 15 grand a month, as John says. No, that is absolutely not happening. And all of you faithful family out there who contribute to the ministry, you know that I don't just make the videos. Behind the scenes, we are packing and shipping all of these cards. Most of you have received them by now. We're pretty much caught up. I actually had to hire a friend to come in and help pack and ship these cards. So you can see this is just 410 and all the way down through March. I mean, look at all these packages that go out. So we have a lot of work going on besides just sitting at the computer making videos. But I try to get out as many as I can, as often as I can. And right now, this time of year, I'm really overburdened with work. So please hang in there with me. It's coming. It's all coming. And believe me, I would love to have none of the worries of the world. I would love to just be able to focus on the Lord and focus on my mission, on what I'm here to do. But we still have to do the things we have to do to get it done. As you guys can see right here, this is my stamps.com postage meter for sending out all of this stuff. And look at the type of postage. Well, you guys just saw it's $3 and $4 per package that we ship out. And that's not even counting international. International is between, $10 and $35 per package. So this is what we've spent. You guys who contribute to the ministry, you'll want to see this. I mean, this is a tremendous amount of money to keep this thing going. It's over $2,000 in postage there. Here's another 931. And this month was 262. Here's 245. So making videos is an important part of this ministry, but it's not the only thing going on in the world. We have to keep pushing back the darkness. And not only did YouTube completely take all of my income away for the last several months, but also pledges have been editing down, down, down. And that's a lot of people have contacted me. It's not because they're upset with me or anything. It's just, it's tough times, especially moving in toward Passover. It's like that verse where Moses goes and tells the Pharaoh, let God's people go. And instead, he makes it harder on them. He says, oh, yeah, well, now the slaves are going to make bricks without straw. He just makes it harder, leading up to their deliverance. Deliverance is coming. It's coming. The event horizon is coming. But before that came, Passover came. The darkness came. So we got to push through the darkness. We can't let them stop us. So for those of you who contribute, thank you. And for those of you who don't, please consider it. But I don't want people to get the wrong idea that all of us do this full time, like John or some of these people who just get to sit at their computers and do this stuff. That's not my life at all. I am overwhelmed with work. We're setting up our new platform over at DLive. Please, everybody, go over there and sign up. This is where we're going to be able to speak uncensored. If you don't know what's going on over there, JonXarmy has a great video, a 13-minute explanation on it. I'll put the link below. Basically, the very top YouTuber ever of all time with tens of millions of subscribers got tired of being censored and has worked with some investors and some tech guys and set up a platform that can really work. And all the truthers are moving over there. John's already over there. Several are. Granted, there's a lot of just gaming on there right now. So, but that's not what this is about. This is about freedom. We have a short amount of time to get out a lot of truth. And even though we self-censor on YouTube just to stay on the platform, on top of that, they censor us even more. And it's not just about money. You can see right here, blocked worldwide. My video about the drag kids, they completely blocked it worldwide. And that happens all the time to me. So here's my channel I just set up over at DLive. This is where I'll be moving all my content. It should be easy to find. It's just dlive.tv/ExtremeRealityCheck. And I'll put the link down below in the description box to make it super easy. So this is it. This is the next step, you guys. Please come with us. Please move over there. The only way it can work is if we all do this together. The reason YouTube became YouTube, that everybody watches it like they watch TV, is because of us. Because we work our butts off to give people options of things to watch besides what the mainstream fake news is churning out. And YouTube has taken that. You know, those of us like me who have been on here since YouTube started, when there was nothing on YouTube, there was nothing to watch. Nobody watched YouTube. No one had ever heard of it. But I've been on here for 11 years. So they used me like slave labor. They say, yeah, we want your content. We're not going to completely kick you off because you're bringing, what do I have, 20 million views or more? You're bringing tons of people to our platform, but they want us to do it as slave labor. They're like, but we're going to get rich off that. We're going to get famous off that. And we're going to become this huge, rich, powerful company. And all of us are slave labor. They're not letting us make any money. They want us to keep our content on there because you guys come to YouTube not to watch Miley Cyrus swing around half naked on a wrecking ball. You come to YouTube so you can have intellectual conversations with people who can think outside of the box. So it's you who makes YouTube what it is. It's me who makes YouTube what it is. But they want us to be their slave labor force. None of us get any benefit out of it other than we get to be together. We can do the same thing we did here on YouTube for DLive. We can move over there. It doesn't matter what you think about PewDiePie or any of that. It doesn't matter. This is an opportunity for us because time is short and we have a lot of truth to get out. We have a lot of people to reach. And yeah, if there's a lot of gamers over there, they need reached. So please, you guys, come with me, support this effort, take the time to go over there. We're really trying to launch a revolution against YouTube and have freedom of expression and freedom of speech again. And this is the way to do that. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up. It just takes a couple of minutes. But anyway, you can see right here that I can't upload videos until I reach 200 followers. I can only live stream. So I have to have some of you guys support me in this. And this will be the uncensored me. This will be everything we've ever wanted to say. And we'll be able to live stream and have interactive chat. And I've been talking to a few of you about that. We wanted to have a sort of roundtable discussion, you know, a Bible study, if you will, where we can get together and exchange ideas instead of just my monologue and having a comment section. So this is the way to do that. We can have these roundtable discussions and have several of us on here at the same time, live streaming at like a Google Hangouts. And everybody else watching can be chatting with us the whole time and asking questions, and we can just be ourselves. But to do that, we actually have to do it. And that's the problem. Everybody has great intentions, but how many people will act on them? We have to do this. So I'm asking you, please, out of hundreds of thousands of you guys out there, there must be 200 that will support moving over to this platform where we can have freedom. And I need you guys. You can see right here, it's locked. I can't upload videos until I have a following, until I'm what they call a verified partner. So anyway, sorry for the long intro, but I just wanted to get an update out there for my faithful family, for the people who do, the 100,000 people or 130,000 people who do and invest their money as well as time in this ministry. I want to do an update, and every time I put up an update video, it only gets like 800 views or something. So, which you'll see in a minute, because after this series, I'm going to post the cash drawing video with an update and the Revolution for Christ movement with the map and stuff. And you'll see, compared to the 400,000 views I might get on a series, it'll get like 2,000 views maybe. So I just wanted to put the update on this video in hopes that some of you would actually see it and see what's going on with this ministry and with me. So let's get this show on the road. Here is the 3 days of darkness, the Passover, chemtrails, holographic sky video. in the interest of time, trying to keep this short enough that hopefully we can reach more and more people who would never sit down and click on a 2-hour long video. I'm going to leave out the entire montage at the beginning, which was 6 or 7 minutes of these cataclysms that we are seeing all around the world. So if you want to see the full version of this video, I will put the link below in the description box. So what is going on in our world that is causing all of this radical weather all over the entire world? Hopefully this document right here on the screen that the CIA declassified recently, plus some more evidence I'm going to show you, will help shed some light on that. At this point, I think most of us agree that it's not just because we use hairspray and drive pickup trucks. We're seeing the migration paths of birds and whales and everything being thrown off to the point that whales are beaching themselves trying to follow that electromagnetic migration path. And when they're rescued and taken back out to the ocean, they will turn around and beach themselves again, trying to go that same direction that they can't go anymore. And as always, the pole shift is not a conspiracy theory. Just look it up. Even the airports have to repaint their lines because of the change in the magnetic field right here. Airports worldwide have to change the numbers of their runways as magnetic north moves about 60 kilometers a year. So even the mainstream admits there is a pole shift. That's the definition of a pole shift. Magnetic north is shifting, and that's quite a bit, 60 kilometers a year. And I think it's more than that now. And we know the Schumann resonance is spiking. That's the actual frequency of the earth. Think about that. The frequency realm, the dimension that we live in, is suddenly going nuts. It started in about 2014. Before that, it always seemed to resonate around, what do they say, 7.83 hertz. And that's alpha brainwave frequency, which is associated with a state that's easily hypnotizable, associated with meditation and things like that. So it affects our brain function, which most of you know if you've watched my channel and any of my videos about the multiverse and how the different dimensions work and all of that, that it is all about frequency. And we can access other dimensions. In fact, we're accessing 5 dimensions with our 5 senses right now. 5 different frequency ranges that we're perceiving 5 different ways, not in totality, but we compile those with our brain to perceive what we call this world. And we say it's 3 dimensions, but it's actually probably closer to 5 dimensions that we are living in right now. So when the Schumann resonance changes and our brainwaves change, we are literally going to change worlds. When people talk about the rapture or being enraptured and all of these types of things, we need to take this seriously because this is happening in our lifetime. And there are a lot of people tracking that, but Mr. MBB333 on his website, he has an entire section devoted to tracking the Schumann resonance. And he's sort of my sky watcher. He's my go-to guy. I support his ministry, and that's where I get a lot of my sky watch news. So I recommend you go and check out his videos. And Blue Kool-Aid, he's really on top of things too. But anyway, you can see just from the thumbnails on these graphs and the dates that these were posted that this has been ongoing. The last one here 2 weeks ago, we had a major event all the way back to 1 year. It was up to 40 hertz. 40 hertz from 7? This is no small deal. I mean, look, it's completely whiting out the graph. And it's just mind-boggling. Look at this. A few thousand people, 13,000, 28,000, a handful of people compared to the billions on Earth are even paying attention. The very frequency of our reality is changing, of our matter, the dimension we live in. This is monumental. This is of biblical proportion. But these changes, these electromagnetic changes and the Schumann resonance and all of that, they don't just affect the human body, they affect the earth as a whole. And from the looks of this declassified document that the CIA has been hiding since the 1960s, the shadow government has known this for a long time. They have known about the changes that the earth goes through on a cycle. They knew this was coming. That's why they launched all of the propaganda campaigns like global warming and all of that type of thing. They have to subdue the masses, give them an explanation so that people don't stop going to work and people don't stop paying their taxes. And in the meantime, they can milk it for all it's worth. They're building their underground bunkers and their dome homes, and they've plotted all of the safe zones. And to pay for all of that, they just wanted to implement even more taxes, carbon chits and all sorts of gas taxes and everything else, just to keep robbing us, to keep us poor and in the dark, while their families have been preparing for the crescendo of this cycle for decades and decades and decades. And I personally believe that they have the records. You know, the Vatican archives, they went around during the Crusades and gathered up all the records from every civilization on earth. So it's my contention that they've always known that this cyclical event happens and that they prepare for their families. Like the leftists, those of the left-hand path, always say, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So that's what they do. So when they resurface, then they are in control of the world again. This isn't the first New World Order. In fact, on pages 7 to 9 of this classified document, it talks about the ancient gods, right? They're telling us that it's all mythology, but at the same time, they found this text so dangerous that they classified it and made it secret all of these decades, because it says that this same type of cataclysm happened during Noah's era. Vishnu, Osiris, if it's all mythology, why would they have classified this document?
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact on climate change and energy security. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, so crisis is a chance. And thank you for your answer. And I may inform you and you that the European Parliament has finalized its legislation concerning climate change in December. And we were waiting for the new administration that we have the leadership together.
Periods of crisis are good because they sometimes lead to the opening up of possibilities for alternative discourses. To use this neoliberal discourse to push certain policies around the globe.
In a nutshell, Emmanuel described a philosophy advanced by one of the fathers of the Enlightenment, George Hegel. Students of Hegel labeled his three-part theory the Hegelian dialectic. Students of Karl Marx call it management by crisis, and it was adopted as a centerpiece of communism.
And that's what's happening in our world right now. There is a world crisis coming, and they know all about it. Not only do they know all about it, but they are actively covering it up. When I show you some of this science that they are using to cover this up, I mean, it's going to blow your mind. It's hard to even fathom that there could be something this size in our atmosphere and we wouldn't be able to see it. So that's why it's mind-blowing. So hang with me and at least just hear me out. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people who watched those first few minutes of clips of all of the climate chaos going on all over the world have already probably left comments that, oh, it's weather modification and the government's doing this and geoengineering and that type of thing. And I don't discount that. This is not mutually exclusive, these two events. In fact, they are using this radical weather changes that the earth is going through as a camouflage for them to do these acts of war with weather war. There is absolutely no doubt that weather modification is going on. Not a conspiracy theory. I will put the links down below to CIA.gov and NSF.gov where you can access these documents yourself and see these aren't photoshopped. These are straight off the government websites. Special Commission on Weather Modification. And it will give you the names of the projects, the universities involved, the scientists involved, the directors, all of it. But that doesn't change the fact that there are massive electromagnetic changes going on in the earth, and we're about to see massive volcanoes go active everywhere, massive earthquakes, and that is not all going to be from man. Man is not the measure of all things. There are celestial mechanics at play here, and there are celestial objects and celestial entities approaching. Now, this isn't a real picture. This is computer generated by Yeti Dynamics, so I'll put that link below. But I chose this picture because it reminds me of what God showed me in the vision. When I had prayed, I prayed and asked. I actually didn't ask at all about anything like this. I just asked what was coming, because my previous visions over the last 20 years, just a handful that I had, all seem to deal with war, and a couple with earthquakes and things like that. So I was asking God, what is coming? Is this really coming? And he gave me a vision of this, which a lot of people call the Planet X system, Nibiru, the Destroyer, things like that. But anyway, I was shocked at the size of it. What I saw in my vision, it was like this. It was unbelievable. You would think, oh, if we're going to see another planet in the sky, or we're going to see this thing coming, that it's going to look like the moon, or it's going to look like a second sun. But no, it was as if it popped out of another dimension. It was instantly, quickly, this size on the horizon. And actually, in my vision, there was a second object, slightly smaller, that looked sort of like our moon. It was cratered and that sort of thing, but it was also enormous. And it obviously didn't instantly kill us, because in my vision, we were already gathered together as a family. And I kept going to the window to look out at it. It was just too much to take in. And I was telling my brother, I'm like, I tried to tell you about this 20 years ago and you wouldn't believe me. But look, it is here. And honestly, I do believe this has something to do with coming out of another dimension, as well as physically coming toward us in the atmosphere. And that might sound confusing or contradictory, but the last video I put up just a few days ago, I talked a lot about that, about matter and density and how the dimensions are overlaid and all of that type of thing. All those videos would be right here. Part 3, China's ghost cities, the underworld, ... I know it says ghost cities in the title, but I think it's, I don't know, around 45 minutes in or whatever. I go kind of in depth into this concept. Here's the 1159 video, the quantum leap rapture, the event horizon, falling stars. And in that one, I talk a lot about the atomic structure, how electrons are essentially the same thing as what we are calling these celestial bodies. And when they change dimensions, when they drop down in frequency, it changes the atomic structure. This is real and scientific, and that's the type of thing I discuss in that one. And then this one, the multiverse Mandela effect, glitches in the matrix. This one, I talk a lot about how these celestial objects are actually celestial beings, and how when they intersect our 3 dimensions or 5 dimensions, we are nowhere close to perceiving the totality of what we're looking at. We're only seeing the part that is intersecting our dimension. So there are a couple of deeper angles that I want to talk about as we discuss this thing, that it didn't just come flying in from outer space, from the shallow materialistic worldview that they've given us. But then I also want to show you the very down to earth, very 3-dimensional science and technology that these deep state players are using to mask this. So that's what I want to talk about today. How could something this big have been approaching for decades and we not be able to see it with our naked eye? Okay, so let's start with all of the unexpected solar eclipses. All around the world, there have been these mysteries for the last couple of years where the sun will just become eclipsed and it will go dark right in the middle of the day. So here's a recent one that most of you remember. It was July 20th of 2018. So a few months ago, what, 9 months ago? And that was in Russia, Siberia. And that was one of the clips that I included at the montage that kicked off this video. So out of nowhere, the sun is just eclipsed for 3 hours and day turns to night. Now, of course, they've scrubbed the internet. When I went to find the articles, there were a zillion when this first happened, but they have completely scrubbed the internet, and the only articles you can find are the mainstream cover stories. And yes, of course, we double checked all of the particulate maps to see if their sloppy propaganda checked out, and of course it did not. There were the dust storms and sandstorms that they were propagating during that whole time. So they were saying, you know, like they always do, talking out of both sides of their mouth, sloppy propaganda. They just say, oh yeah, it was just part of the dust storm. Their devices, all of the devices at the universities were saying, no, there were not particulate clouds in that area at all. But this phenomenon has been happening for a few years now. Here's one that I covered it happened in Stockholm, and it was about an hour after sunrise, and then all of a sudden the sun gets eclipsed by something and it goes dark again. I posted this video, let me see, this was October of 2017. This was the same exact time that the skies went red over London. And here's one from just a few days ago. This is March 29th. This is on several, like a dozen cameras in Germany. After sunrise, all of a sudden, the sun is eclipsed and it goes dark again. Now I'm going to play a little clip. This is from Jeff P's channel over at Nibiru Watchers. Since he already said it well, I'll just let him in his own words go over these different webcams here and let you know what was caught and how they systematically deleted several hours of footage. You can see right here the time, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning they deleted, 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning they deleted, and on all of these cameras simultaneously, which were all stationed in different locations. And it wasn't just like some sort of internet outage or whatever, because depending on the location of the camera, different hours would be deleted. And as always, I will put a link below to his channel down in the credit links in my description box, because this is how we network. If you follow the links that I leave, then you can go to these videos and they themselves will have links to all of their information and citations. So that's where you can get the links to these webcams in Germany that are live streaming. Except, of course, when they start to pick up these anomalies, like some enormous object eclipsing the sun in the middle of the day. And now again, I want to point out the size of the object we must be talking about, because I'm going to be throwing around the word solar eclipse quite a bit throughout this video. And we're not talking about the same type of solar eclipse that we see when the moon passes in front of the sun, because you know that transit happens very quickly. But we're talking about an object so large that when the sun passes behind it, it takes several hours to transit out the other side. Plus, we're talking about total darkness. And anybody who's ever lived through what we call a total solar eclipse from the moon knows that it doesn't get totally dark. Like this last total solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, here I live just above Carbondale, Illinois, which was the perfect path of totality for it. And it didn't get dark here at all. I mean, it blocked out the sun some, but there was a lot of sunlight still present. It didn't get pitch black like we're seeing from these unexpected eclipses. So whatever object the sun is passing behind for those hours is so enormous that it is blocking out all sunlight. So please do keep that in mind as we move forward.
This ought to drop your jaw. Now, this is web cameras in Germany. I will leave links to like 10, 15 of these in the description box, and you can investigate this yourself, because this is not Photoshop. Folks, it is March 29th, okay? Now there's a lot of deleting and editing going on here. And see, every one of these cameras here are all doing the same thing. So it's 10 a.m. in Europe. Where's the sun? There's 2017, March 28th. That's what the sun should be like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And yet we go to 2019, we go to the 29th, and we have total darkness. Not only that, but something extra strange. I want to show you the editing, how they do this. Two things are happening, okay? So ever since the 29th, frame after frame, and then suddenly it's light out, okay? Now, well, another thing I want to point out is when you have your mouse over this website, you will see a thumbnail of the picture that it had that day. See here? But you can see that they're grayed out and they're no longer there. They only showed us the hours, and you see that there? It's even missing some of the minutes inside that hour on these as well. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, deleted, deleted, deleted. So what were they hiding? There's something wrong with the camera? Well, why is it happening to all the cameras in the same time? Here is yet another camera catching the same thing with missing time. Once again, you can see 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning missing, still showing the same hours. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, still dark outside. 9 o'clock, finally the sun comes up, right? And that's supposed to be normal. Look it. Let's go back to 2018. This is how much light's supposed. 2017, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's supposed to look like this, not like this. Okay, 8 o'clock in the morning. Look at that, 18. See the difference? 2 different years apart. 2 different cameras. Let's go to yet a third camera.
And here's a video I did about 6 months ago that shows an object, 2 objects actually, eclipsing the sun. And the reason that the title line says observatory seized, town evacuated, FBI and black helicopters is because that was at the exact same time that the Sunspot Observatory was suddenly just seized and closed down. And there absolutely were Black Hawk helicopters and the FBI crawling all over. And here's another update: Sunspot Observatory reopens. So if you're interested in that, you can go watch those 2 videos, because the cover story came out after all of the craziness. Then all of a sudden they came out and started propagating that, well, there was a janitor who worked there who was using the computers for porn or something ridiculous. With all the guys everywhere using computers for porn, they send in Black Hawk helicopters and the FBI, and they close down a whole town and quarantine it. I mean, this is just ridiculous, but that's the cover story, and I show all of that in these 2 videos here. And around that same time, I was doing a series on all this type of stuff. So that's when the Is the Sun a Portal video went up, and also this one, What Are They Hiding? Anomalies in the Sun and Moon. And this talks about my experience of seeing 2 light sources, where the sun was going down in the west, but yet in the north, there was a complete other light source shining over the horizon. So that video is interesting as well, and pertains to this subject. Okay, so these are the images in question from the SDO imaging devices, which again, we're talking about, you know, September 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th is when this observatory thing is happening with the FBI. And these images are taken from 9, so you can see this is 9/7, and I'll show you some more of this activity through the 9th. So here it's going to come, you're going to see it's going to be really fast. Okay, so now I want to play a quick clip from Steve over at WSO. And he's compiled the screen captures from that day to show exactly what I'm talking about, and he talks about the data succinctly.
Check out what's going on SDO. Both 193 angstroms and 171 angstroms both saw an anomaly. Watch it now, really close. See, it goes that way, and then it comes back the other way. Let's just look at it on 1 here. Goes down and up. So that should not happen.
The next thing I'd like to show you are the Federal Aviation weather cameras in Alaska and Canada. Now, our sister who specializes in this, and I mean she is called to do this, she is powerful at this, she keeps a close eye on these cameras. I believe this is one of her channels, Universal News Media. That used to be her main channel, but recently I've seen her coverage on the Final Days. So I believe both of these are her channels, and the Final Days is her new channel. But anyway, she does a fantastic job of showing that this object is in the sky. And it is so enormous that our sun goes behind it and is eclipsed. And that's where the sun simulator comes in. And I've done a few videos on the sun simulator. There's one in the Biggest Secret series right here. Biggest Secret, Sun Simulator, Lights in the Sky, 5G Wi-Fi to Li-Fi, LED light bulbs, and AI smart cities. So there's a lot that goes into the sun simulator, and it's not just a fake sun. There is a full array of objects, a network of objects. And some of them look like this. Some of them are for cloaking, and some of them are, like I talk about the Li-Fi. We know that Li-Fi broadcasts internet, Wi-Fi, but it actually does it through light, like LED light bulbs. See, you can look it up. It's all in that video if you want to go back and watch it. But, you know, the crux of it is, instead of Wi-Fi, that it'll be coming from these LED bulbs. So it sort of reminds me of that movie, They Live, where the whole quest through the movie is they're trying to knock out that signal that is keeping people in this state of consciousness, because they're beaming this frequency over people.
Now, they're going to let us have it good if we just help them. They're going to leave us alone. Let us make some money.
Don't interfere. You can't win. Winners give a press conference and how to buy a sailboat at... What's wrong?
With it. Filmmakers like George Romero and John Carpenter have to show some restraint. They're simply...
Again, with the predictive programming, because these things are in the sky. They are absolutely in the sky, several of them. And they have, again, with the Russian nested dolls, these programs, these black ops programs are nested. They don't spend this kind of money and only find one function for something. So there are all sorts of these devices up there above us, used for cloaking, used for beaming frequencies at us. And yes, some of them are used as an actual sun simulator, believe it or not. And these, I put these pictures, this is a German scientist. This is the actual manufacturing in Germany of these enormous light sources. But let's get back to the webcam footage, and I will let Universal News Media or the Final Days channel, I will let her explain it to you because this is her specialty. And then afterwards, I'll come back and show you a ton of scientific evidence and patents and everything else to show you that this is absolutely true.
The images we are viewing were obtained over the past few days from the Federal Aviation weather cameras in Alaska and Canada. Each image is 10 minutes apart from the next, and they form a time-lapse video when strung together, such as the one playing now, taken from cameras in different locations throughout Alaska. The black dot in front of the sun is equipment that NASA launched hundreds, possibly thousands of miles from the Earth's surface. It casts a reflection upon the water, proving that it's not a camera or lighting issue, but it's an actual piece of equipment, and it's viewed from many different cameras. This black dot equipment is capable of producing an enormous glare, hundreds of miles in diameter, possibly thousands of miles. It always tracks in perfect synchronization with the sun. So essentially, the circular glare is always between Earth and the sun, but much closer to the Earth, of course. There is nothing special about this old video from Portage Glacier, Alaska, a year ago. The sun is seen passing behind a post. The importance of these frames is that we are looking at the real sun. Notice how the sun passes behind a post, and the post cannot hide the sun because the real sun is too large to be hidden behind a small post. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. You'll see in a moment why this is important. Here's an interesting sign in the sky, viewed from the west-facing camera in Burwash, in the Yukon Territory. We see what looks like the sun, but it's not. As it passes behind a thin post, it completely disappears from view. The reason this is happening is because the light source we are viewing is the glare produced by the black dot equipment that reflects upon the water surface. Where's the real sun? It is currently behind a dark nebula that we will be looking at in just a minute. To refresh your memory on the approximate size of the real sun, here is an inset of the real sun we just saw moments ago in Portage Glacier. The real sun could never be hidden behind a thin flagpole. We see the same phenomena occurring in Drumheller, Alberta in Canada. The light source is seen traveling across the sky, and then it is completely hidden behind a tiny street light. Just to refresh your memory on the size of the sun again, here's an inset from Portage Glacier. The real sun could never disappear behind a street light. Now that you know how the manufactured light works, it will help you to understand the dark nebula we are viewing in this footage from the south-facing camera at Awapiskat, Ontario in Canada. Notice how bright everything is as the sun rises over on the left. Then suddenly the sun appears to shrink to 1/5 its size. That's because the real sun has just gone behind the dark nebula, and the manufactured glare is now in front of it. However, the artificial light is no match for the real sun because it almost looks like nighttime. Eventually, the real sun emerges from behind the nebula, and the landscape suddenly brightens, and the sun returns to its normal size again. Let's run through this again. The sun rises on the left. The landscape is bright. The sun suddenly shrinks to 1/5 its size, causing the landscape to darken as the real sun moves behind the dark nebula. The manufactured glare moves across the sky in front of the helium-4 dark nebula. Notice the amazing texture of the nebula as the light moves across it. It would be wonderful to be able to get a closer look at this structure. The light passes over the nebula, tracking in perfect synchronization with the sun. The landscape suddenly brightens as the real sun emerges from behind the nebula, and the sun resumes its normal size again. A total eclipse is occurring here, viewed from the southeast-facing weather camera located in Ugonic Bay, Alaska. As the manufactured glare approaches the two orbs, it illuminates them. Technology is in place to blur these objects. Some contrast helps to see these two celestial objects. We know these cannot be lens flares because the manufactured light is actually reacting to these objects. Notice how the glare reaches out toward the orb. These objects are between the sun and the earth. Thus, when this eclipse occurs, the manufactured circular glare stays in front of the celestial object while the real sun passes behind it, just like it did in the nebula we just saw a moment ago. This process successfully conceals a total eclipse. The enemies of Christ do not want you to know we are close to the end. They do not want you to turn your life over to Christ while there is still time. Information is at the end of this video that tells you how to turn your life over to Christ. The same thing is happening on the camera in Willow, Alaska. We know this cannot be a lens flare because the manufactured light once again reacts to it. Light can never react to a lens flare which is produced from within the camera. These are just more of the signs and wonders of the last days described by Jesus in the Bible.
And that's basically it in a nutshell. But despite all of their efforts to cover this thing up, I mean, you have to admit, trying to cover up the end of the world or the end of the age, that's a lot to bite off. But despite all of their efforts and the trillions of dollars in black budget, they still don't have a 100% perfect way of hiding what's going on. And that's why we do see the lens array or the fake sun, the sun simulator slip out of synchronicity over certain nations. And we do see a couple of hours of darkness where that solar eclipse wasn't effectively masked by the glare of this thing in the sky, this sun simulator. And because of live streaming from all of this, CCTV cameras all over the world, it's just impossible to clean up every single tape that like this, where it slips through. And these things are visible. And no, this is not a lens flare because you can see. Yes, there are tons of lens flares. I see them all over that people mistake for this type of thing. I'm not talking about that. But this stuff that is behind the clouds, a lens flare is inside the camera. It isn't out in the environment. So it won't react to the environment at all. It is inside the camera. So when you see things like this that are behind the clouds, no, that's not a lens flare. Or like this image where there's obviously two light sources and they're reflecting off of the water. So it's not in the camera, it's not a lens flare in the camera. There's something in the atmosphere, in the environment, and it's casting light on the water. So there's no shortage of Nibiru coverage on the internet. You just have to be really discerning and honest with yourself. And you might want to hurry because they're really sanitizing it. There's been a total news blackout since the 1980s. These were articles from the 1980s. And then there was a total news blackout. And now they've gone back and started sanitizing the internet and making all of the articles that were published on it and all of the videos that were published on it disappear. So you can see if you go to any websites dealing with Planet X or Nibiru, most of their links won't work because there's a constant algorithm going sanitizing the internet. And you can see from this website, it's like most of the links are gone. But I do highly recommend the Final Days or Universal News Media because she is called to do this and she keeps a close eye on it. And although I may not agree with her interpretation on every minute detail, I absolutely trust her because her heart is right. Her heart is in Christ. The only place that her and I really might disagree would be that she says it's a dark nebula, which would mean it's primarily composed of gases and particulates. And I think it very well could be the black sun recorded in the ancient texts, the same black sun that the Nazis were obsessed with.